the old pirate ship here in Tampa, Florida. Steve Mariucci walking around on the field yesterday as the 49ers had their walkthrough, and he said, what goes on up in that thing? One thing we know is they blow those cannons when the offense gets into the red zone, and Mariucci's already working the side, Judge, and why not? The officiating has come front and center in this postseason, and you look at Mariucci, who might have had this Tampa Bay job. However, he waffled over a weekend, and they called John Gruden at 2 o'clock in the morning, and obviously he had been up for a couple of hours. He took their call, and then what? $8 million, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a $15 million contract later. Here he is with a franchise record 12 victories, and he has the Bucs, winners of the South, with a first-round bye, all rested and ready to go against the 49ers, who about halftime a week ago we thought would be licking their wounds and looking ahead to next season.
Pretty amazing, really, what they pulled off. And I can remember the Buffalo comeback, Troy, but being in the stadium and watching it take place and watching that momentum turn like that, I just never seen anything like it.
Aaron Stecker, will he be the guy to return a kick for a touchdown? 1,632 kick returns in franchise history. 0 for touchdowns. Stecker dives forward, and he's knocked down right at the 30. Salim Rashid, who's active finally, made the tackle for the 49ers. Well, here comes Brad Johnson. That's right. You know this, the #1 rated passer in the National Football Conference. It's hard to believe that he is the guy, but he had some kind of season. 22 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. The offensive line, much maligned early in the season, has been getting better and giving Pittman an opportunity to break off some runs. But the running game is definitely a weak spot for this Tampa Bay offense. First play of the day from scrimmage, and it's a throw incomplete. And Julian Peterson was all over Keyshawn Johnson. Let's look at the defense. Julian Peterson was a guy we highlighted a week ago. His dealings with Jeremy Shockey of the New York Giants. Up front, Carter, Stubblefield, Young, and O'Keefer. A hurry-up approach for the Buccaneers. Their second play of the day. They're the defensive backs, and that's the area that the Buccaneers will try to exploit. Pittman fell down making his break, and the ball was nearly picked off by Plummer, and that'll bring up a 3rd down and 10.
Well, as you watch Brad Johnson, we talked about the fact that he missed the last 2 ball games. He feels coming into this game that he's as healthy as he's been all season long. He feels like he got his zip back in his arm. He's got his legs back underneath him. He had a great week of practice. You wonder, though, however, that even though he's only missed 2 games, he has not played in 4 weeks because of the bye week they had last weekend.
That's complete. That's a first down, and that's Joe Juravicius.
Well, one of the big matchups is going to be Roman Oven, the left tackle, against Andre Carter. And pass protection has definitely been an issue all season long. Nice job that time, though. Juravicius working on the middle linebacker, Derek Smith. That was the first time that we've seen a little man coverage out of the 49ers of those first 2 plays. They've been trying to take some pressure off their quarterbacks, but if they try and match up man-to-man, I don't think they're going to win that battle.
All kinds of movement before the snap. On first down, Johnson fires, it's tipped. Penalty flags fly, and the pass is incomplete.
Well, you can't have pass interference if the ball was tipped.
No foul on the play, the pass was tipped. 2nd down.
That's just flat out knowing the rules, Collinsworth.
That's always like. But once the ball is tipped at the line of scrimmage, then you can't get the pass interference. So even though Julian Peterson was all over Keyshawn Johnson, and my guess is Keyshawn Johnson will let somebody know about that once he feels that way, there's no pass interference.
And Julian Peterson is going to be looking up Keyshawn Johnson. Anytime he gets in the area, he's going to be trying to get a hit on Keyshawn.
This is Pittman. He gets gets a yard, maybe a yard and a half, and it'll be 3rd and long coming up.
And then you consider what the Buccaneers have done running the football. Throughout the season, they had really struggled, but 3 out of their last 4 games, they've been able to rush for over 100 yards. A big part of that is Michael Pittman and his ability to finally slow down and read the blocks. But talking to John Gruden yesterday and asking him about the improved offensive line play in the running game, he thought it was more just a concentration on his part than any dramatic improvement up front.
3rd down and 9. Quick throw and it's picked off. Interception for the 49ers in great field position, just shy of the 40. It's Rashad Holman, an extra defensive back.
Well, and that to me looked like it was all Keyshawn Johnson, who was supposed to be running a slant route, and right there he stops, and Brad Johnson thinks he's going to continue across Holman's face. Because Keyshawn Johnson stops, Brad throws the ball, and it's an easy interception. That is a cardinal rule that you do not stop on a slant route. You have to cross the defensive back's face on that route.
And now the number 1 ranked defense in the league, the Buccaneers, taking on this 49er offense, which starts at the Tampa Bay 40. Incomplete. Hurst, the intended receiver. Well, Jeff Garcia had a lot of headlines regarding his play a week ago, and he's protected by this offensive line, but as we've talked about already, bad left ankles almost across the board. They belong to Stone, Newberry, and Deese. Hurst and Beasley in the backfield. Owens and Streets, the wide receivers, and Johnson, the tight end. That's Garrison Hurst. And if there is one thing going in that everybody's talking about, guys, it is up front for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're fast, they get upfield, but you can run against this group. And it involves Simeon Rice, Chartering Darby, Warren Sapp, and Greg Spires. The linebackers, Derek Brooks, the best in the business. In the secondary, Lynch and an improved Dexter Jackson at the safety spots. Monty Kiffin puts it together as the defensive coordinator. 3rd and 5. Bucs show blitz, and Garcia falls down, dropping back. And it's time for the 49ers to punt.
Well, really just a huge mistake that time by the 49ers. If they just throw an incomplete pass on that play, they're going to have an opportunity for about a 52-yard field goal should they choose to do that. But by taking the sack, now they're going to have to punt it away.
Carl Williams waiting deep for this punt from Billy LaFleur. The 26. For the Buccaneers, basically no harm, no foul. Back about where we started. The ball at the 26-yard line. 1st down for Tampa Bay with no score despite the Brad Johnson interception.
And that's what this Bucs defense does time after time. They bail out an offense when they make a big mistake.
This offense coming in ranked 24th in the National Football League this season. This is Pittman. He goes nowhere, falls forward for a gain of only 1.
These are the games, these playoff games are the games that you gain that respect. He's got to play better today than he has in his previous games.
2nd down and 9. Johnson throws it over the head of Keyshawn Johnson. 3rd and 9 coming up.
You know, one of the things that is so key for this ball game today is this 49ers secondary is banged up. Jason Webster, one of their starting cornerbacks, out of the game. Ahmed Plummer, who was just lit up a week ago by Amani Toomer. They want to protect him. They want to protect the rookie Mike Rumph on the other side. They're back to playing a little bit more of their basic cover 2 defense so that these guys aren't in the man-to-man situations that they got stuck in last week in the first half against the Giants.
It's really where this defense feels comfortable. 3rd down and 9. Johnson on the run, fires, and it's Juravicius with another 1st down catch.
It showed Andre Carter earlier, and again, he's working against Roman Open. He comes on an inside it, but Brad, although he's not a very mobile quarterback, he does have the presence of being able to find receivers on the move. Joe Juravicius, a big target, working against a rookie Mike Rumpf. Nice job, nice execution, first down.
Well, we just talked about all the injuries to the secondary, and now Ahmed Plummer is down early in this one.
It's a first down play from the 40. Johnson dumps it off to Allstott. Breaks one tackle. Picks up a first down. Still rumbling inside the 45.
There's Ahmed Plummer coming in with his right arm and right wrist, trying to make the tackle, and that's what they were concerned about on the field. You see him just taking the direct shot to the face mask of Joe Juravicius, and they are just so thin in the secondary. Even the guys that are healthy aren't healthy. Tony Parrish back there with a dislocated elbow, and Plummer going off the field. Zach Bronson had to leave the game with a bad foot last week.
First down, Tampa Bay. Allstott. They love him here in Tampa, Florida. Picks up 5 right up the middle.
Well, that's really where Mike Allstott needs to be playing when he's in the backfield. As we've talked about many times, he is not a true fullback. When he's in the fullback position, he's still going to be more of a runner. He's not much of a blocker, but you put him back there in that I formation. That time they had Darian Barnes in at fullback as his blocker, but he's a big, strong guy, and they know that because of the speed of this 49er defense, they've got to run right at these guys to have success running the football.
Second down and 5. Johnson over the middle, and it's incomplete for Dilger.
And I know running the football has not been the strong suit of this Buccaneers offense, even though they've been a little bit better at the end of the season. But right now, when you have a 49ers defense with their secondary as banged up as they are, they're not going to take many chances. They're going to sit there in that umbrella coverage, the cover 2 with only 7 guys in the box. Now is the time for a Mike Allstott to come in there and just pound the football against these guys because they can't support from the secondary.
Yeah, this is the down that the 49ers defense has struggled last in the league during the regular season, stopping teams on third down.
It is third down and 5. Johnson throws, and it's incomplete. McCardell will get the flag. Julian Peterson on the coverage. Bryant Young had pressure on Brad Johnson on the play.
Well, Julian Peterson is the one who missed the tackle on Allstott earlier. You see here clearly pass interference. You cannot grab the receiver. A lot of times on a crossing route, a linebacker will try to hit him within that 5-yard period. But right there, Julian Peterson clearly has a hold of him.
One thing that needs to be pointed out here early, and we've seen it pop up a couple of times already, is the size difference between the wide receivers of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the secondary for this 49ers team. The big bodies of Keyshawn Johnson, Joe Juravicius. First down for Tampa Bay and Allstott. Tap dancing, gets back to the line of scrimmage.
And Joe, I think that's going to be a point that we're going to be making on both sides of the ball, because the receivers for the 49ers clearly are much bigger, stronger, and more physical than the corners are for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So right now for Tampa Bay, what they have done all season long with their receivers is they don't have much speed. They're not going to beat many people down the field vertically, so they've got to be able to use those big bodies to shield defenders to get completions.
The word on Ahmed Plummer is a dislocated right shoulder. So now Holman's in the secondary. Rumpf is already there filling in for Webster. That's off the hands of the tight end Dudley. And if you bring in an extra cornerback, it's DeJuan Hawthorne, who was released from Dallas earlier this season.
Boy, Ricky Dudley with a huge drop right there. Troy, did you see that front wall that he had in front of him? They really had this play set up, and I'm not so sure he wouldn't still be running if he'd have been able to hold on to that football. Well, Ricky Dudley's one of those guys, you look at him, such a phenomenal athlete, but just so inconsistent throughout his career.
Third down and 10 now. Buccaneers within field goal range for Martin Bromanico over the middle. That's Johnson. Keyshawn with a first down at the 11.
This is one of Keyshawn Johnson's signature routes. Julian Peterson just lets him go by him, and they create a real void right there in the middle of the field. As you see Dudley, by him going vertical, it takes the other linebacker, Derek Smith, up the field, and just a breakdown in defensive coverage on that play.
A lot of confusion right now in that 49er secondary. They act like they don't know where they're going.
From the 11, it's 1st and 10. 10th play of the drive, and it's Michael Pittman. Took on a big hit and eventually fell forward for 4 yards.
Now, if Pittman runs that hard, do they blow that A-train whistle for that too? I mean, it kind of looked like the A-train on that. We'll go ahead and blow the whistle in this place. He's had a pretty tough year around here. Mike Allstott's such a popular guy, and they love him here. You saw Jenkins pulling out in front of the play. But you can say anything you want about Pittman, but the guy does run the football hard.
Ball resting at the 7. 2nd down and 6. High formation, play action. That's Allstott. Knocked down near the 1st down marker.
Now, because of some of the injuries, you've got people just out of position right now. Tony Parrish, a safety, essentially having to play the cornerback position outside in the cover 2. There he goes, right out here. And that's not his normal position. He's not a guy that's used to playing this particular play. And I think Brad Johnson is picking up on that.
The crowd reacting because Warren Sapp is in on this offensive play where it's 3rd and 1. He's in a tight end position. This is Allstott with Sapp blocking. Touchdown. Some beef on the field for this touchdown.
Yeah, they sure did. You get Warren Sapp, big body, and Ken Dilger down there blocking. Of course, getting the ball to Mike Allstott, that's a heavy load.
Gramatica makes it 7-0. The Bucs were 3 for 3 on 3rd down on that last drive. 12-play drive, covering over 5 minutes. And yes, the Bucs have crossed the goal line. Their first touchdown in their last 4 playoff games. This is Paul Smith. Decent return out across the 30. Well, the Buccaneers bring Gruden aboard, and they're in the end zone in a playoff game. 7-0 under 6.5 to play, first quarter. Barlow split out wide to the right, and Garcia rolls right and throws. He finds his tight end Johnson. A gain of only 2.
Yeah, we saw coming out of the timeout there, Warren Sapp showing him, and we talked to him on Friday, and he was pretty cranked up about this ball game. Kevin Barlow this week, running back for the 49ers, he claimed that the Tampa Bay defense was a finesse defense. I'll tell you what, Warren Sapp, you want to get somebody fired up, call him finesse, and I don't know where Kevin Barlow got that. I mean, this is the most aggressive physical defense I've seen in a long time.
2nd down and 8. Over the middle, pass is complete. J.J. Stokes a gain of 5. 3rd down and 3. Garcia throws, and the pass complete for a first down. That's Ty Streets, and I thought it was interesting to listen to Garcia talk about this Tampa 2, the defense for the Buccaneers. He said, A, that's kind of a misnomer because they're not in that all the time, and B, while everybody tries to throw slants to take advantage of it, we look at a lot of out routes near the sideline. That's where we feel we can get advantage.
Well, that's exactly right. Because of the speed of this defensive pass rush, most teams want to get the ball out in a hurry. Jeff Garcia says we have got to force the issue and get the ball down the field and challenge these corners.
A first down for the 49ers, and this is Barlow. And Lynch pass as finesse hung just shy of midfield. A gain of 7.
Well, they made a lot of points about Dexter Jackson, the other safety, on the other side of John Lynch, being able to come down and make plays the same way that Lynch did. But on this one, he just simply got juked out by Barlow, and Lynch had to come in from behind and clean it up. Jackson was right in the hole and just missed the play.
That's Ahmed Plummer with his dislocated right shoulder. That's a bad scene for the 49ers in their defense. Quick throw, Owens. That was easy. Hi, we're the Tampa Bay defense, and right now we'd like to give you a first down.
Well, and that's what Jeff Garcia was talking about. He says these corners, when they're in one-on-one situations or when they're in cover 3 zones, they play soft. You see right here, all this room right here between Rondé Barber and Terrell Owens, and it's just pitch and catch. And when you can get the ball into Terrell Owens' hands quickly and allow him that kind of space one-on-one, he's going to make some plays.
49ers trying to answer, down 7-0. Ball at the Tampa Bay 40. Blitz coming, they pick it up, and this is Streets. Made a move, nobody really bit, a gain of only 3.
Boy, the value of Garrison Hurst in that backfield, being able to come across the formation here and pick up John Lynch and allow Garcia time to throw the football. Garcia has so much confidence in Garrison Hurst that he really didn't flinch in a situation where most quarterbacks may have looked down to try and pick that up.
Yeah, Garcia told us last week that Kevin Barlow is the better receiver of the two, but Garrison Hurst is better at blitz recognition and pass protection, and you saw it right there.
Hurst goes out, Barlow gets the football. And he dives down to the 34.
And what you're seeing when San Francisco is trying to run the football, much like what Tampa Bay was trying to do when they had the ball, they're going to try to run between the tackles, keep it straight ahead. They know that because of the speed, the lateral speed of this defense for Tampa Bay, that they have got to run it right at them. That's what Philadelphia Eagles did when they had success, and that's what the 49ers are hoping to duplicate here today.
3rd down and 3. Blitz again from the Buccaneers, and over the middle, it's caught. First down. That's Streets to the corner. Ty Streets. Forced out of bounds just shy of the end zone. They're going to mark him out at the 2.
Well, they know that they can't just sit back and let Jeff Garcia pick them apart, so they try to bring pressure. This time they bring Derek Brooks, and they had a nice plan on the outside, the 49ers with the receivers. A little bit of a natural pick right there, which gets them open, and Ty Streets is able to run down the field because of the man-to-man coverage and the natural pick that picked the defender.
I'll tell you, I just don't think these cornerbacks from the Buccaneers are good enough to play the 49er receivers one-on-one. I think that's a mistake.
Officials move the ball back just outside the 3-yard line. It's 1st and goal. A little pump fake and a quick throw. Too hot for Stokes.
I think that one would have been too hot for anybody. I mean, that close, and I know what Garcia's thinking. He sees Stokes, he's got a lane there, try to get it on him in a hurry, just a little bit too much, and would have been a nice catch, but it had a lot of heat on it.
Kind of like that Brett Favre theory. Let's just throw it as hard as we can. And I know my guys might catch it. I know no DB is going to catch it in that situation.
The second half work by the 49ers last week with that red zone production. This is Barlow. A loss on the play.
Well,
Finesse that.
And that's what you cannot do as a runner. You cannot settle down in the hole once you get the football. You got to keep your legs going and move straight ahead. You watch this defensive front, the push that they get, and then Barlow stops in the hole, and as soon as you do that, you have nowhere to run. They pursue much too quick.
One of the interesting things, they're moving Warren Sapp from his usual defensive right side to the left side to try and contain. There we go, Sapp's right over here, and that's not his normal position. Usually he's one position to the right.
It's 3rd down and goal. Garcia buying time. Back of the end zone, incomplete. Owens finds the intended receiver, and the field goal unit will step onto the field for San Francisco.
Well, anytime they get down here in goal line situations, number 81, Terrell Owens, is who they're going to be looking for, and really just kind of ran out of real estate. Shelton Quarles, who's very quick himself, but obviously a mismatch if they're out in the middle of the field. But Jeff Garcia just was unable to get turned and make a throw when Owens had an opportunity because of the pressure he was under.
Jeff Chandler, place kicker for the 49ers with his bad left ankle. Drills it. There is it.
Terrell Owens immediately went to Jeff Garcia during the break and said, listen, they're playing me man-to-man coverage out there. These are fairly small quarterbacks. I can push them. I can make my moves. I can get open. Just throw me the football.
Well, they threw him the short one, right off the line of scrimmage, but I know Terrell wants to be able to force it further down the field in those situations of one-on-one.
This is Aaron Stecker from about the 5. Big hit. As Stecker crossed the 20, they'll mark him at the 23. Let's go down to the field and check in with Pam Oliver.
All right, Joe, you saw cornerback Ahmed Plummer come out, his dislocated shoulder heavily taped. Well, the trainers tried to pop that shoulder back into place, but without success. Plummer looked crestfallen. He had to be consoled by defensive coordinator Jim Mora Jr. Plummer is now officially listed as doubtful. Back to you.
I'd say without pads on, without a jersey, he was so crestfallen, to use Pam's word at halftime last week. Jim Mora Jr. was trying to point out Ahmed's wife in the crowd, trying to play psychologist after just a wretched first half against the Giants. 3 touchdowns to his side, 6 for 6 in throwing, 78 yards. Monty Toomer schooled him. This is all stuff. Pick up the 4. And that will do it for the first quarter. Well, you've got Tiki on your left, Rondé on your right, and they may be twins and they may look identical facially. But Troy, you were pointing out that those two guys are different now body size. I mean, Tiki's all yoked up. Rondé has stayed slim.
Rondé runs a little bit more at that cornerback position.
This is all stopped. Suffers a hit, tries to fight for the first down. And he's brought down right at the marker.
I don't think Rashad Holman's ever hit anybody quite like Mike Allstott. He tried to brave up and throw a shoulder at him, but if you've seen any highlights of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the last few years, you know that's not going to get it done.
Yeah, and that's what they miss when they lose Jason Webster and Ahmed Plummer along with coverage, but those two guys are also very good tacklers, and you're not going to come in and throw a shoulder on Mike Allstott or anybody for that matter and get him to the ground.
Allstott in the backfield on 3rd and less than 1, and it's Allstott, and it's a first down.
Well, Tampa Bay has been very successful here in this first half on 3rd downs, and that's an area of this 49er defense where they struggled. They were last in the league during the regular season stopping teams on 3rd down. That has continued in the playoff game last week against the Giants, and it's continuing here again today.
First down for Tampa Bay. So far, 5 out of 6 on 3rd down conversions after getting the last on the run by Allstott. Johnson throws it up and out of bounds as he was wrapped up by Bryant Young.
I think it's important to point out that the injuries in the secondary are a big reason why Tampa is able to run the football, because now you can't play the man coverage, you can't bring the safeties up to help, so you're going to see a lot of Allstott and Pittman today.
2nd down and 10. It looked like Keyshawn Johnson came across the line of scrimmage too soon. He was in motion and trying to get a jump on his block, was a little anxious.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. He was...
That's a snap, 5 yards. Repeat, 2nd down.
A little eager trying to get going across the line of scrimmage, and what sometimes happens is you miss time where you're at when the ball snaps, so you try to rush it in order to get he's trying to make that crack block right there on Sean Moran, and he was out of position when the ball was getting ready to be snapped. You try to force the issue and go up the field, and you just can't do that.
Well, the strange thing is that it was really more of a cutoff block than it was a crack, because he was trying to get in front of him, so there really wasn't a reason to take that kind of an angle.
Second down and 15. Johnson with time, over the middle, slings it. And Keyshawn Johnson brought down just shy of a first down, a gain of 14.
Working against the zones in the middle against the 49ers, Keyshawn Johnson, there's not many better at picking apart zones than he is. It's really just a matter of getting on the other side of Julian Peterson and finding that hole. And Brad Johnson and Keyshawn Johnson really starting to get on the same page, especially against zone defenses.
Yeah, and that was Dwan Hawthorne at corner, and he did nothing to redirect Keyshawn Johnson. Keyshawn gets a clean release, is able to sit in that hole well.
Big bodies trying to get a first down, and Allstack gets another.
One of their favorite plays in short yardage is getting Kerry Jenkins pulling out and around and leading up through. I've seen them just do this time after time on short yardage, and then you get the fullback in front and Allstott behind, and good luck trying to stop that big old train with all that lead block.
Ball at the Tampa Bay 49. Johnson down the middle, McCardell can't hang on, incomplete. Lost the ball and his helmet in the process.
Now this time he's got Tony Parrish, who's going to be trying to run up inside the seam on him, and they have a chance. They have a chance. It's crowded, but McCardell had a chance to come down with that football and just is unable to hang on to it, but they're having to make some adjustments because of the injury. Now with their two starting corners out of the game, Ahmed Plummer and Jason Webster, you got Mike Rumpf and then Rashad Holman, and the question is, what exactly do you do when the Buccaneers go to a three-wide set? Do you bring in another corner, Dwayne Hawthorne, which they have at times, or do you drop in a third safety?
Second down and 10, another throw. Johnson slings it. Keyshawn Johnson down inside the 25.
Is the same sort of look that we saw earlier. So they come back to the play action off the same fake. Kerry Jenkins going to pull out in front. They go play action. Keyshawn Johnson's going to run it all the way across the field, and Brad Johnson with an easy pitch and catch.
Yeah, and again, Dwan Hawthorne was the one in coverage that was unable to make the play. Great throw, Brad Johnson.
12 men in the huddle, 5 yards. It's still first down.
During the huddle, the Bucs had 12 men in it, and even with Keyshawn Johnson pleading his case and Brad Johnson pleading his case to Jerry Austin, he throws the flag, and that'll cost Tampa Bay 5 yards.
You don't see Brad Johnson get that emotional too many times, but boy, he certainly is here.
Let's see here. I know I can't count this high. Maybe the machine can. Yeah, there's 12.
Rashad Holman up from the cornerback spot to help on the tackle. And a loss on the play of 2. Second down.
You know, it really is important for this Tampa offense to keep it going. San Francisco is only the 4th top 10 offense that this Bucs defense has had to play against. And in those other games, they're just 1 and 2 in those 3 opponents. So this is not something you can just assume that Tampa's defense is going to shut out the 49ers the rest of the way.
Second down and 17. Johnson over the middle. He hits Pittman, who gets hit at the 20. And that'll bring up a 3rd and 7.
You know, one thing about John Gruden is you're never quite certain exactly what he's going to do or how he's going to try to feature this running game. He realizes that if they're going to win this game, it's going to be on Brad Johnson's shoulder. But one thing he has not done during this season is he's not neglected the running game even when they've struggled, and he's tried just about everything he can to get it going. Michael Pittman, he had been running the ball well at the latter part of the season, but then today they've been featuring more of Mike Allstott.
3rd down and 7. This is Juravicius, and that's a touchdown.
Well, we've seen Joe Juravicius in the big games keep coming up with big plays. This time, he's going to be working on the safety, Zach Bronson, who's coming off the foot injury. He had to come out of the ball game in the 3rd quarter last week. But Joe Juravicius is just one of those rock-steady kind of guys. Troy, we saw in practice, they kept throwing these corner routes, and I think the reason they did was they saw the weakness at the safety position for the 49ers a week ago.
It'll be interesting to see another look at that last replay as Gramatica knocks home the extra point. Well, if you're smart and you score a touchdown with a receiver just getting his feet inbounds before heading out of bounds, and we'll give you another look at that replay. You get your field goal unit on to tack on the extra point in a hurry, which the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did. This is Vinny Sutherland. Vinny. Down near the 40. And they will throw a flag for that late hit. Nate Webster was over there on the stop, and a flag came flying in when Sutherland was hit along the sideline.
Well, Nate Webster, you take a look, he was engaged with him right there, and that's when you got to know where you are and let him go.
Number 52 of the kicking team, 15 yards, 1st down.
This crowd trying to climb in the game and cheer on this number 1 ranked defense. 9:19 to play first half. 14-3 Buccaneers. This is Hurst. Big hit from Lynch, but a big gain on 1st down. He got 9. And now a penalty flag comes in at the end of the play again. John Lynch.
It appears that they're going to get Lynch on unnecessary roughness.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 47, 15 yards, 1st down.
At first look, it looked like Garrison Hurst kind of rolled over and gave a little shove to John Lynch after the tackle, probably because Lynch had his knee right in his back. Let's see exactly what happened.
Was trying to get up. Lynch was in a position where he couldn't allow him to get up. Hurst gets upset, and then Lynch right there with the knee is what the official saw and drew the flag.
So that's 30 yards of unnecessary roughness penalties, which has brought the ball all the way inside the 25. 1st down, Garcia right to the end zone, and what a play by Al Singleton. Got his hand up to break up what looked to be a touchdown throw as the receiver was open.
It was absolutely a touchdown, Joe. Al Singleton makes a great play here, getting a hand on that ball. Otherwise, it was clearly a touchdown. Ty Streets fakes to the outside, comes back in. That's all the defense that you see on your screen was there. Sheldon Quarles wouldn't have made the play. Dexter Jackson was out of it.
2nd down and 10. Garcia rolls, looking to throw, and there's nothing there.
That's a great job right there by Tampa Bay's defensive recognition. They came up in a blitz look. They were in man coverage. Jeff Garcia went to the audible, and then all of a sudden, the Buccaneers defensively come out of it. Here comes the audible. Now they're going to check out to a basic cover 2. Garcia comes on the bootleg, and that plays no good against that defense. Tremendous recognition by the Bucs. And Warren Sapp going to let them know about it, too.
3rd and 10. Garcia fires, and it's incomplete. Owens, the intended receiver, and there was pressure by Dexter Jackson, the free safety on the play.
Well, they're able to get some pressure with Dexter Jackson. You're going to see him 34 coming off the corner here. Garcia, as a result, has to unload it a little bit earlier, but Rondé Barber does a nice job on that play as the corner lined up over Terrell Owens, getting his hands on him and redirecting him as he talked about wanting to do coming into this game.
The inexperienced rookie kicker, 40-yard try. He's hit from 24 today. Nothing to it. It's an 8-point game. Terrell Owens moments ago on the sideline just pleading with the offensive line of the 49ers to give Garcia time. Aaron Stecker waiting deep. Fumbles it forward, picks it up, and now breaks free. Chandler knocks him out of bounds up near midfield.
Sometimes it just goes your way. Aaron Stecker is just going to flat out drop it, and this ball is going to kick right back up into his lap. Believe me, footballs, oblong footballs, don't typically do that, and he's able to catch it in full stride and break it. Good thing that Chandler was back there to make the play. Not often a kicker is going to be able to make an open field tackle like that. Pretty good play.
Knocked out of bounds at the 48. Johnson airs it for Juravicius, and they're going to throw a flag.
Pass interference, 31 defense, automatic first down.
Zach Bronson again.
Well, here's what happens. Joe Juravicius is going to run an out and up. It's actually on Tony Parrish. He's the one who got caught in coverage on Juravicius and never gets turned around. The ball's underthrown, so the advantage goes to the receiver, having to try to come back and make a play.
But Troy, what's happening now is they're having to play their safeties, Parrish and Bronson, on wide receivers because of the injuries to Plummer and Webster, and Brad Johnson's just taking full advantage.
First down, Buccaneers, and all stop. Gets it up near the 12, a gain of 4. Second down and 6. 7.5 to go in the half. Johnson fires, end zone, Dudley for the touchdown. What a start for Brad Johnson.
Keyshawn Johnson's up the left sideline. Brad sees it late, but because of that, he's able to come back into Dudley, and there was just take your choice on that one. Brad had 2 guys open for touchdowns.
Brad Johnson, normally very reserved. Want to go back to the 99 season, the game at St. Louis, the last couple of years with the playoff losses in Philadelphia. Different story for the Buccaneers today, able to get into the end zone as Paul Smith crosses the 30.
Well, if you want to see the power of the running game, here it is. All the action coming here. Jenkins pulling around. Now watch these linebackers go with the flow, and now everything comes across this way, and there's nothing right there.
Troy Aikman, you're in a bad spot when you're the 49ers and your defense is giving it up, albeit with injuries to the secondary, and you're now involved in what would have to be a shootout with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if you're going to come back and win this game playing against this defense.
Yeah, they don't give up a lot of yards. They don't give up a lot of points. #1 defense in the league this year, and arguably the best defense since the 1985 Chicago Bears. But one thing that you could say maybe plays into the 49ers' favor is that Jeff Garcia and this offense seems to be more comfortable when they're able to spread people out and get into a little bit of a no-huddle situation. Obviously, you don't want to have that happen, but in the event that they do go to that, I think it is a football team that feels very confident that they can dictate the tempo and start to wear this defense down.
They called an offside on that last kickoff, and the 49ers, hoping for a big return, will make the Bucs kick it away again.
And I think the story of this first half so far is exactly right there. The fact that on that first drive they got the interception, go 3 and out. The next 2 drives they take it up and down the field, do a great job of moving it against this tremendous Tampa Bay defense, but they don't stick it in the end zone. So they really had 3 scoring opportunities, and they only come away with 6 points.
That's typical against the Buccaneer defense. One of 5 teams since the league went to a 16-game schedule to allow less than 200 points. Sutherland loses it. The ball is there for the taking and right at midfield. Vinny Sutherland coughed it up, and now the scrum to see who ends up with the football. It's Tampa Bay. Dwight Smith comes away with the ball.
This is a Tampa Bay football team that feeds on turnovers. They do it on defense. They do it here on special teams. Last thing you want to do is start allowing the ball to get on the ground and give the ball to this offense in great field position.
Great job there by Corey Ivy. I don't think Sutherland ever saw him. He snuck up from behind as he was stumbling a bit, got his hand on the ball, and it just bounced out.
So in the end, the offside penalty on Tampa Bay on the kickoff previous to that one ends up getting them the football, or costing San Francisco the ball. A loss of 1 on the play as Michael Pittman ran into a wall. Second down and 11. As Brad Johnson continues to test the secondary. That's Dilger. He's brought down just shy of the 40. 3rd and short coming up. Mike Rumpf made the stop.
And Joe, I think you made a great point in that you are not going to score a lot of points against this Tampa Bay defense, and certainly the 49ers have been able to move the ball. They have had to settle for the field goals in this game. It really comes down to what this 49er defense is able to do, and they cannot allow the Tampa Bay offense to go down and score touchdowns the way that they have.
Turnovers even today. 1 apiece. Dilger with a terrific catch and a first down. Forced out by Parrish.
One of the toughest things to try and stop for a defense is the bunch formation. When you put a couple of wide receivers together in short yardage, you really can't come up and try and jam these receivers. So now you're just afraid to get up and play them too tightly because you could get picked off, and end up giving up a touchdown on the play. And especially when you have a safety in that situation, Tony Parrish again really having to do something he's not too comfortable doing right now.
Jim Mora Jr., the defensive coordinator, can't be too comfortable without Plummer and Webster available. Brad Johnson is taking advantage of it. Penalty flag on the throw. Johnson was hit as he let it go, and it's in the area of a hold.
Well, I think another storyline
60 offense, 10 yards, repeat first down.
Yes.
has been the Tampa Bay much maligned offensive line essentially whipping these 49ers. This is a good pass rushing bunch with Andre Carter and Bryant Young and Chike O'Keefer up front, but this is the best I've seen this offensive line this year. Not only getting some movement in the running game, but the protection of Brad Johnson. He's had a little bit longer to throw the football than he's had at least in the past month or so.
What about Brad Johnson? I mean, you talked about Brad Johnson during our pregame show, a little pop that we do from the stadium here, and then going back to the studio, Jimmy Johnson talked about Brad Johnson's history in the playoffs. But if you talk to Brad, A, he's ticked off that he's not going to the Pro Bowl, whether he wants to admit it publicly or not, and why shouldn't he be? And B, he feels like he's got the best team around him that he's ever had. Second down and 18. Bentley wasn't looking for the pass on the blitz. Didn't turn around, and that'll bring up third and long.
Well, I think Brad Johnson is a very aware guy. He's very realistic. He understands that he's probably not gotten the recognition or the respect that he feels that he deserves, and I think that he's probably right in feeling that way. But the reason for that is he's not a real flashy guy. I mean, he's not a guy who runs around the pocket and makes plays like a Donovan McNabb or Brett Favre. He just kind of goes about in a workmanlike way and does his job, and he knows that his legacy is going to be winning championships. He knows that the best opportunity he's had in his career is with this football team, best team in his words that he's played for. Now he's got to make the most of it.
Big blitz, and Peterson up the back of Johnson as he let it go. Penalty flag on the play, as Johnson was just happy to get rid of it. And it's a hold on the defense.
Holding number 97 of the defense.
Listen to this part of it.
Pulling an offensive lineman out of the way so a defender can go to the quarterback. 5 yards, automatic first down.
That's the big part. Automatic first down.
On a 3rd and 17 play, you end up with a hold. Here's going to be right here, pull and grab so that your blitzer can come through. He's going to grab Cozy Coleman and just open it up for Julius Peterson, but he didn't even have to. Coleman was going to block him. See if there's a little.
It looked like he was trying to grab Jeff Christie to open up that lane, but
I tell you what, though, this is the playoffs, man. You got to let him play a little bit.
On first down, it's Allstott running to the right side. A gain of only 1 on the play. And this is a severe test for the San Francisco 49ers defense on this drive. Already down 21-6. It looked like they had the Buccaneers stopped, and that holding call gives Tampa Bay a fresh set of downs.
that's a severe test, and it's a severe test for Jim Mora, the defensive coordinator for this group, and he's had to do a lot of creative things over the course of this season due to injury, and he's having to find out some ways to stop this offense with some different guys because of injury again.
Second down and 9, blitz coming. Brad Johnson gets rid of it and overthrows McCardell.
This blitz is starting to have a little bit of an effect now on Brad Johnson, and I think what Jim Moore is thinking, he's like saying, okay, I get the point. I can't cover these guys down the field, so let's just go ahead and get after Brad Johnson. And it's a pretty good strategy because of some of the problems they've had with protection throughout the course of the year up front for the Buccaneers.
Well, I know coming into this game, they felt that they could get pressure with their front four. They recognize that Brad has problems when he gets pressure because he will unload the football as he did there. He's not going to make people miss, and he's not going to make big runs.
Another blitz, 3rd down and 9, and Johnson loses the football. Blitz, blitz, blitz. And Julian Peterson has had a lot of action in the backfield of the Buccaneers. He has been looking at Brad Johnson at the end of the last 3 plays.
And there's something to be said, Troy, for the 49ers when they get to desperation time. They go to the no huddle, their offense wakes up. Defensively, they start blitzing people, they start attacking, and let's face it, they don't have much to lose at this point. They're down 21-6, and they're just going to start firing a few bullets out here, and this time it worked.
Well, one thing you can say about Jim Mora Jr., he will do what he has to do and change his plans in order to give his team a chance.
Let's see if Mariucci does the same thing on the offensive side and lets him go a little no huddle now.
Penalty flag on the punt, and a fair catch called for and taken in by Sutherland. Check the marker as the players indicate it's against Tampa Bay. So how tricky do you want to get? How gutsy are you with Sutherland waiting for another punt?
Holding
That they can kick it
number
again.
66 of the kicking team. 10 yards, replay 4th down.
They will.
Yeah, I definitely agree with this one. Just want to try and get a little bit better field position, and we're going to talk some more about long snappers, and no question about the takedown there. But that was a good takedown because that well could have been blocked.
Ryan Benjamin, who is the long snapper on both punts and kicks. And with 2:46 remaining, the 49ers have to take pride in that their defense held, with Tampa Bay getting the ball near midfield on the fumble by Sutherland on the last kick. Tupa booms it. Oh, boy. And it's down just outside the 2.
Boy, every time they take a penalty in the kicking game, it blows up on them. What are the odds that ball doesn't go in the end zone right there?
First to get it, Dwight Smith. He kept it out. And then it was Corey Ivy who downed it. And they mark it just shy of the 3.
Well, the last thing you want to have for an offensive football team coming out onto the field who has been struggling throughout this first half, and now to have to start backed up in your own end of the field next to the goal line limits you tremendously as far as what you can do from a play calling aspect. They have got to first concern themselves with getting the ball out and giving them a place to punt the ball.
Quick throw, and it's complete, and they do get some room. Terrell Owens out across the 15, a gain of 12.
That's a great job right there. A great call. Now they're going into their no huddle. They're going to try to come away with some points before this half ends, and be interesting to see now how they run this no huddle after they ran it so effectively last week against the Giants.
Michael Strahan just started to sweat as this 49er offense goes into the no huddle, and the ball's batted up and picked off. Derek Brooks ends up with it. Second turnover of the day, and it's Derek Brooks, who scored 4 touchdowns this season. 21-6 with 2 minutes left in the first half, and that Tampa defense got a little rest. They have come out charged up. Second turnover of the day, and it ends up in the arms of Derek Brooks. Big reason why he won Defensive Player of the Year. 5 interceptions, a total of 4 touchdowns on the season. He had only 1 before this season. And his 6th straight Pro Bowl coming up.
And it's great that he finally got the Defensive Player of the Year. I thought he had an opportunity to get it a few years back, but Warren Sapp did, but he really was very deserving over a long period.
Another blitz coming, and the pass is thrown and incomplete. Cardell, the intended receiver, and it was Holman defending.
Let's go back to the interception now, and Rondé Barber right there. Watch him almost get wrong-footed, but still have the quickness to get back underneath. He really had lost Ty Streets, but jumped back underneath it and just tipped the ball up in the air, and Brooks able to pick it off.
I think that shows you the speed of those linebackers and the way that they pursue to the football. If Brooks wasn't as aggressive pursuing the ball as he was, he wouldn't have been able to get that one.
Second down and 10. Another blitz coming from the 49ers, and the Buccaneers run away from it. Pittman brought down inside the 5.
Boy, the 49ers, Troy, are playing so many games up front to try and cover for some of their deficiencies, so they're not just getting blown off the ball. A lot of stunts, a lot of movement, people trying to come down inside. That time, Andre Carter simply got trapped by Keyshawn Johnson, I believe, coming back on the crack, and there was nobody outside.
Yeah, they got Kerry Jenkins out there and Jeff Christie and Michael Pittman running hard. They got them on their heels right now.
First and goal from the 4. Pittman down to the 2.
That's one of the few times you give the ball to Mike Pittman down here in this area. Mike Allstott is normally the guy that gets the football when you get down here in this goal line package. He's obviously very effective, scored a touchdown earlier, but Mike Michael Pittman, I can't say enough about him. I know we talked a little bit earlier about the criticism that he's gotten throughout the season, but just a tough runner. Of course, John Gruden has done a great job of calling plays this game and making the most out of the players that he has. And Michael Pittman, he's been criticized for not setting things up in the running game, but when you watch tape on this guy, and especially when you watch a game,
it will be a 30-second timeout.
There was so much made about John Gruden coming here and the 2 number 1s and the 2 number 2s and the $8 million, and I know Al Davis was happy with his end of the deal, but I think the people in Tampa are kind of happy with their end of the deal too.
Oh, I think so, and I've always said, I think head coaches in this league make a huge difference for a football team, and if you're an owner and you know there's a guy out there that you think is going to make a difference for your team, in my opinion, there's no price too high. You go get that guy, and in time, it'll pay for itself, and I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if they don't realize that this year, they soon will.
You saw Warren Sapp check in.
We got 99.
Announced as eligible.
Go.
Bottom of the offensive line. Easy touchdown, all stop. Ran to Sapp's side again.
Pretty nice bit of deception right there on the part of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Got everybody sort of off to the right side. Then they start bringing motion and people back around to the other side and simply outflank the 49ers, and they get a walk-in touchdown.
Both Sapp and Dilger in 4-point stances as with 50 seconds left. Grammatica adds the extra point, and it's 28-6.
And do you think Sapp gets more excited about blocking on a touchdown run or sacking a quarterback? I think you could make an argument that he likes blocking more than he does actually hitting the quarterback.
Deshaun Johnson hitting his coach right in the middle of the back, and Warren Sapp, I'd say he definitely got a kick out of throwing blocks to help get Alstott into the end zone here and into the end zone for the first touchdown of the day.
You know, in this kind of a ball game, ordinarily you'd say, well, maybe this one's over, especially against this Bucs defense. But after what we watched last week, they were down 24 and came back and won it. Just down 22 here, that's a piece of cake.
Little different defense this week.
Little different defense, I would agree. But Jeff Garcia and the 49ers have moved the football. It's not that they haven't been able to move it. Just interceptions, bad plays, fumbles, a lot of mistakes.
Sutherland, who's fumbled once today, gets up to the 32. From their own 32, keeping it on the ground. Harrison Hurst with a nice run. They mark him down right at the 40, a gain of 9.
Well, that's interesting. You're down 22 and you're not going to come out and fire it around a little bit?
There was even some indecision on Jeff Garcia's part as to whether or not they were going to huddle, go to the line of scrimmage, or even call timeout. Not something that was well thought out on the sideline.
Wow, I don't believe this.
This is hard to believe.
I do not believe this.
The ball's at the 40. You have 2 timeouts left, and you're packing it in for the half?
Not when you're down 28-6.
Wow.
I agree. I don't understand this at all.
And another left for that Tampa Bay defense, because in essence, the 49ers are heading off the field saying, you know what? We're calling time. All right, well, I'm sitting with 2 guys who've played in Super Bowls. What message does that send when you say, hey, we just want to get off the field?
Well, I'll tell you what, if it's a close game, I understand that, hey, we're struggling, but it's close. Let's go in at halftime, regroup, and come back out. But when you're down like they're down, it sends a message to your team that you lack confidence in them. I disagree with the move. I think you had to try to do something to score some points for the half.
I just think there's absolutely no justification for it whatsoever. And certainly Steve Mariucci's job is somewhat on the line with the San Francisco 49ers organization. A lot of speculation as to whether or not his contract is going to be renewed and he'll be given the proper raise. And, well, you just don't want to add any fuel to the fire for Steve Mariucci, but in my mind, that's just a huge sort of give-up mistake.
This is Smith from just inside the 10. Paul will get it up to the 35-yard line. Well, guys in the booth didn't like it. Neither did the guys on the field, especially Terrell Owens. That's his reaction to his own sideline as the 49ers just let the clock expire.
Well, one thing about it is, as players, you never like it, and the coach has to make that decision. I do believe it was the wrong decision there, but you watch, San Francisco now has got to try to get points against a team that was only on the field for just over 10 minutes. So they're a well-rested group, the Tampa Bay defense, that is.
First play from scrimmage, start of the second half. Garcia off the hands of Owens, into the air and picked off. Dwight Smith.
This game has just been an unmitigated disaster for the San Francisco 49ers. They just can't do anything right. They finally come out, get the ball in the hands of their superstar. Terrell Owens going to make a nice adjustment, working on Brooks. Ball's thrown in there. He's going to one-hand it and somehow pop the thing straight up in the air for an interception.
You saw Jeff Garcia after that play talking to the referee, hoping to get pass interference on Derek Brooks, but I didn't feel that it was, and Terrell Owens unable to bring the ball in. Ball pops up. Dwight Smith right there to make the interception.
Dwight Smith, who literally came on the field just before the snap, ran on the field late, ends up with the ball in his lap. Third turnover for the 49ers. Great field position to start. The toss. This is Stecker. Aaron Stecker gets his first carry of the day. And he's knocked out at the 30. Gain of 7.
We've been seeing Keyshawn Johnson on the crack block. This time they bring Michael Pittman, split him out wide, bring him down the line of scrimmage. You're going to see him come into the screen. Makes a block, but Aaron Stecker, a guy who has not gotten a lot of opportunities to run the football, but when he has had his opportunities, he's really done a nice job. He usually carries the ball 2 to 3 times a game, but usually makes the most of those chances.
Averaged over 6 yards a carry during the regular season. It's 3rd and 3. Ball stop. 2nd and 3, gain of 1. It'll be 3rd down and short for the Buccaneers.
Well, at some point in the ball game, the 49ers defense is just going to have to rise up despite all the adversity that their offenses put them under and make a play. And this is the time right now. If you can hold them here on 3rd down, hopefully you can just send the field goal team out there. Maybe they miss it and you still have a chance.
Yeah, I was going to say, we can't put it all on the 49ers offense because these 49ers defensive team, they've been unable to stop Tampa Bay from scoring touchdowns.
Unable to stop them for the most part on 3rd down. Wow, just wide open. Keyshawn Johnson. 9 of 11 on 3rd down conversions today are the Buccaneers. And you talk about a complete collapse in the secondary. Keyshawn Johnson left all alone.
Well, after every play, you see the defensive backs for this 49er team talking to each other. Mike Rumph comes inside. He thinks it's some kind of run. It opens up the area. Zach Bronson has to be there. When you have defensive backs and defensive players talking to one another following plays, they're just frustrated. They're frustrated, and they don't know exactly what they're being asked to do.
Showing blitz. Michael Pittman. Run hard all year. Gets it down to the 14. A gain of 4. Looked like Bronson's looking for illegal procedures. There was a lot of movement on the line prior to the snap.
Well, too many times when you're struggling, you start looking for help from the officials rather than creating your own opportunities. And right now, the 49ers need to quit worrying about what calls they are or they're not getting and start making plays themselves.
That goes for Terrell Owens on the play over the middle, believing he was held by Brooks. The ball off his hands. 3rd turnover of the day, and the Buccaneers, after the Smith interception, trying to turn the turnover into points. Brad Johnson stays on his feet and dives forward. Brought down by Smith, a gain of 5 on the play.
Well, I was going to say, Joe, that's how Brad hurt his back 2 weeks ago when he was going in head first. This time, however, it looks like he got a hit to the head, cut eye, as you see right there. I don't know if the helmet came down on it or if he got a finger.
It was brought down just shy of a first down. It's 3rd and 1, and Rob Johnson, who John Gruden really brought in here to be the starter when he joined the Tampa Bay organization, will get ready to come in.
Yeah, Brad Johnson, I was saying, he got hurt last time when he hurt his back going in head first. You got to try to slide there and protect yourself. If you slide, you don't take. Well, there's a hand right there into the face mask, which cuts him, and now it's just a question of how severe it is.
Brad Johnson, who was handing out pre-autographed cards on his way into the stadium prior to this game, saying he doesn't get the respect he deserves for the year that he has had, waving to the crowd as he exits. Rob Johnson takes over, and Allstott goes up and over the pile and is knocked down right at the first down marker. We'll see where they spot it. And it's a first down for Tampa Bay as you look at Brad Johnson and his exit off the field.
He's getting a little of the respect that he thinks he deserves, and I think he deserves. Boy, when you watch what Tampa Bay has done this season, when he's gone out of the game, when either Rob Johnson or Sean King has played, and I think there's been 3 games, they've only scored 1 offensive touchdown without Brad Johnson in there. And in many respects, Troy, I thought he should have been an MVP candidate for what he's done with his team.
Well, they've never scored a touchdown in the 2 starts that Rob Johnson had this year.
First and goal. Allstott. Brought down on the play right at the line of scrimmage, and you would figure if you're the 49ers defense, you're going to see a lot of Allstott down here by the goal line. You're not going to see the ball very often in the hands of Rob Johnson dropping back, because to be very honest about it, nobody takes sacks in the NFL like Rob Johnson takes sacks.
Well, that's a concern. Right now, the one thing you have going for you is that you're on the 8-yard line. If you do take a sack, you don't knock yourself out of field goal position. But I can tell you this, John Gruden is very aware of what happened last week, and he is not going to get conservative down here. He's going to call the game the way he would if Brad was playing.
Second and goal. That's Pittman. Brought down right at the line of scrimmage again, and now they may be forced into a spot. They want to be courageous and daring to drop back and try to throw the ball into the end zone.
Well, remember last week we were in this situation with the New York Giants against the 49ers, and they were driving down for what looked like a meaningless drive to sort of blow the game open. Jeremy Shockey dropped that pass in the end zone, and then all of a sudden the entire thing began to turn around, and they just couldn't stop the flood.
4 for 4 in the red zone. See what happens on this 5th possession. Johnson to roll. Rob Johnson brought down shy of the end zone. It'll be 4th down.
And actually an outstanding call by John Gruden. We talk about the fact that Rob Johnson gets sacked an awful lot, so what you do is you do it off of play action, allow him to sprint out on the corner. It opens things up for him, gets him outside. He can then make a decision whether he throws it or whether he runs it. He takes the safe approach here, nothing there, gets it down on the 1, and now they're going to try for the field goal.
And let me tell you why this is the right decision. Make the field goal, you're up 25. Even if you make all the 2-point conversions, it's still a 4-touchdown game or 4-score game in order to catch them.
Basically an extra point. And Gramatica has no problems with it. San Francisco defense a chance to catch their breath. They have been rolled over today by this Tampa Bay offense, 31-6. 8.5 to play in this 3rd quarter. Gramatica almost whiffed on that, a little short kick, and it's Smith. Good field position for the 49ers as Smith gets it up across the 40. Troy, I'm more of a baseball guy, but that's not good after a 6 for 7 start.
No, it's not good, and it's not surprising. I mean, that's what this defense can do to a quarterback, and he's got a tough task ahead of him right now.
It's too awfully chummy on the sideline, Keyshawn and John Gruden. Now a low snap, and Garcia's in trouble and will take a sack. Darby ends up with the credit.
I mean, really, what else can go wrong for the San Francisco 49ers? I know that was an emotional ball game for them last week and trying to get a piece back together, but they can't even get a snap executed in this ball game. They just got to have something break their way soon because everything's going wrong.
Second down and 18. Off his back foot. Pass flutters out, and it's complete. The tie streaks. Let's go down to the field and Pam Oliver.
All right, Joe, Bucs quarterback Brad Johnson back in the locker room still as we speak. Got cut on the forehead. He suffered a laceration. He's getting stitched up, and he is expected to return. Where Terry Pendleton at this time, Joe? New Wonderland. Back to you.
I would fully expect Brad Johnson back out on the field. He hasn't got to enjoy too many playoff victories. He's going to want to enjoy the end of this one.
That's why the crowd's reacting as we speak. Third down and 10. Big pressure. Garcia fires, and it's incomplete. And Garcia in the pocket with those feet moving all over the place. He is no doubt, and with good reason, flustered by this Tampa Bay defense.
Well, and that's what happens, Joe, when you're playing against a defense that is this quick and can put so much pressure on the quarterback. Yes, Jeff Garcia is accustomed to moving around. He does it as well as anybody in the league. But now his timing is off. He realizes that he does not have the time in the pocket, regardless of whether or not he moves, to get rid of the football. And so he's throwing it much earlier than what he would like. And guys down the field are not prepared.
The floor. Beautiful punt. Carl Williams waiting for it. Goes over his head, and Sutherland taps it. Penalty flag comes down at the end of the punt. Jerry Austin will give us the call on this penalty flag and the punt.
Have a push in the back for number 86 of the kicking team. That is not a foul. That is not a foul. Kick goes out of bounds. Be first down. Tampa at that spot.
Back into the action is Brad Johnson. And this Tampa Bay offense, which has been on a roll. Most points they've ever scored in a playoff game, 31 points. And it's Austin. Just lowers his head, still pushing the pile. Brought down at the 8. Second down and 6. Pittman. Across the 10, gain of 2.
All right, here we go. This is the play for the 49ers. They have to take advantage of this field position opportunity, try and get their offense back on the field somewhere around the 50-yard line and get themselves quickly back in the game. It was about, what, the final 19 minutes or so of the ball game last week. They exploded for all those points, and it started when their defense started making plays and giving the offense some opportunities.
That's been part of the problem for the 49ers defense. They've given up 77% already today on third downs.
Johnson flips, and Allstott can't make the catch. Derek Smith was there for the stop, even had Allstott come down with the ball. The play was short of first down yardage, and it's a rare 3 and out for the Tampa Bay Bucs offense.
It's amazing for Brad Johnson to see a guy that, if you put it to a vote at the beginning of the season of the Tampa Bay fans, I'm not sure that Brad Johnson would have finished in the top 2. Sean King and Rob Johnson may have finished 1, 2 in their favorite quarterbacks around here, but it's been Brad Johnson this year that's been able to get it done.
You wonder if you put it to a vote to John Gruden, where Brad Johnson would have come in. Beautiful punt by Tupa. Sutherland from inside the 40. Penalty flag. This will be against the 49ers as Sutherland is collared and brought down at the 31, but there was a push in the back.
Just unbelievable. The rookie Mike Rump is in position there. He doesn't have to do it. He's going to push his man. One final little push at the last second. Oh my gosh, what else can they do wrong today? Just absolutely no problem at all here.
Number 24.
He's going to push him right past the punt return. You've got to give your guy a chance to make a play, and you just can't give those sort of plays up.
It was roughly this point in the game where the 49er offense came alive. So did their defense, which gets overlooked for the job they did down the stretch against the Giants a week ago. 25 points over the last 19 and a half minutes. 4 scores on their last 4 drives, down 31-6. Garcia brought down as he let it go, incomplete, and there's Darby again. 5.5 to go, second down and 10. And for a changeup, it's Garrison Hurst. Gets it out to the 33, a gain of 5.
Well, the reason they got to go to a changeup is because Jeff Garcia is just not getting any time back there to throw the football. You remember back to last week, and the offensive line for the 49ers did a tremendous job against the Giants' defensive front, but today it's been an entirely different story. So now, to make it a third and manageable distance, you got to run the ball on second down, which obviously takes time off the clock.
Only 5 yards this quarter for the 49ers. Garcia fires for a first down. That's Stokes.
Nice job on the blitz pickup that time by the 49ers, and now they're back to that no-huddle offense. Going to have to get it cranking. The other thing you've got to do at this point, you've got a superstar player on the field in Terrell Owens that hasn't been very involved here lately.
Penalty flags before the snap.
Prior to the snap, false start, 77, 5 yards, still first down.
And that's the other thing that happens, Joe. When you talk about the comeback that they had last week, remember, it was at home. So now they're on the road. The crowd's getting loud. You see there Matt Willig, number 77, the left tackle. That's the toughest position when you're playing in a loud stadium and trying to come off the ball when you've got Simeon Rice lined over the top of you.
And did you see him looking down inside at the ball? That's what makes it so tough.
Drop play to Garrison Hurst. Nice play on first down as Hurst gets it up to the 48.
Here's the play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were concerned about. On the outside, Matt Willig's going to simply push Simeon Rice by and then go down to the next level on the draw play. It's been a very effective play for the 49ers all season long.
Second down and 2. Over the middle, first down catch. That's Hurst.
We saw that last play, Chris, and you're talking about Matt Willig running Simeon Rice up high. Monty Kiffin told us on Saturday that if that happened, if the tackle was able to just push the defensive end up the field, he would get an earful on the sidelines. Right now, they're in a no-huddle. He can't even get Simeon off the field to yell at him.
Garcia steps up and throws. That's another concern of the Tampa Bay defense. It's not so much the legs of Garcia, but moving up to the line of scrimmage, still looking to throw, and this time completing it to Streets.
Joe, I think that's when he's most dangerous. Not so much when he's moving laterally, but when he forces the line of scrimmage and makes those linebackers have to react to him.
On first down, it's Hurst. Garrison picked up 3.
You know, I think one of the things you have to address is why haven't we seen this no-huddle offense earlier in the ball game? They've been so effective against it. Steve Mariucci said he thought it was tougher to do on the road. It limited his offense, the number of plays, the number of motions, formations that he could use.
On second down, Garcia has it knocked away, and it's recovered by the Buccaneers. Simeon Rice. And who else would end up with it? Derek Brooks.
Yeah, that's the 1-2 punch right there. Simeon Rice, who's able to come around the left tackle. Jeff Garcia doesn't see it coming. He's going to use a speed move on Matt Willig. Just absolutely no position to make the play, and that was one of the things that Mariucci was concerned about in going with the no huddle. Obviously they have to here, but earlier in the game they had the interception off of it. Here they have the fumble. Tampa Bay gets 2 turnovers.
You know, and Matt Willig looks awful on that play, but as a quarterback, when you decide against a speed rusher on your backside to move out of the pocket to the right, you just don't give that tackle much of an opportunity. You have to put some of that on Garcia.
2:20 left, third quarter. They fake a reverse and hand to Allstott. A lot of room to run. Allstott into San Francisco territory, brought down by Parrish.
And Troy, we see again, when you fake the reverse, it can hold the defensive end and put your team in a position. Here's the reverse. He has to play this out here. Now look at all the running room up inside.
Yeah, it's Julian Peterson who plays up for the reverse, but if you're going to have the end, that time Peterson, who also plays linebacker, if he's going to play the reverse, you've got to have somebody scraping off the end in order to take the dive back and just open up a big crevice there for the running lane.
Goes nowhere.
I bet you Terrell Owens is pretty excited about everything that's been happening lately.
Yeah. That's about it. Hand on the chin and just wondering if they can survive, get to the end of the game and get something going. They just had a drive working. And then it's Simeon Rice, who forced 6 fumbles during the regular season, putting a halt to that momentum. Look at that. Highest total points scored in playoff history for the Bucs. Keyshawn Johnson to the 30. First down, Buccaneers.
Well, I tell you what I like right now is the job that John Gruden is doing calling plays. We talked about it. He knows that you've got to be able to throw the football to have success in these playoff games. Right now, late in the third quarter, big lead, still throwing the football. Keyshawn Johnson giving him a big target.
And Tony Parrish there, obviously in a position he's not accustomed to playing. And anytime you have a guy and you see a flat coming from the tight end position, you know somebody's coming in there behind. But Tony Parrish, he doesn't know that. He's not used to playing there. All these injuries have killed the 49ers.
The two faces of the 2 head coaches. Mariucci was interested in the Tampa Bay job. John Gruden got it. John Gruden, who at one point early in his career was a coach's aide back in 1990 with the 49ers, was a fellow coach with Mariucci from 92 to 94 with the Green Bay Packers. This is Pittman, and on first down, a gain of 2. Second down and 8. All stop. Got 2.
Now, what John Gruden tells us, he said, you know, Mariucci had the big desk because he got to work with the big superstar Brett Favre. He said, they gave me the little desk, and I got to drive Mike Holmgren around town. So they all had their specific duties on that staff.
For that in San Francisco, he said, I got the water boy's water. That's how low he was on the totem pole for the 49ers.
Not anymore.
Really heavily influenced by one of the greatest offensive line coaches at the time, the late Bob McKittrick. And it was the offensive line early in the season that was really holding this offense back for the Buccaneers. That has changed over the past month, he says, as Brad Johnson gets pasted. Fourth down.
Brad Johnson taking a hit there, and I would guess that after this series here, if I'm John Gruden, I put Brad Johnson on the bench, bring Rob Johnson back, and let Brad get some rest going into next week. But you're right, Joe, talking about John Gruden. It's amazing to me how quickly he moved up the coaching ranks from where he was when he started with San Francisco, then to be named offensive coordinator with Philadelphia, and then just a few short years later than that going on to Oakland as the head coach. Says a lot for him.
45-yard try. Gramatica missed it. Bill Walsh on your right, Terry Donahue, the GM of this 49er team, on the left, and there are big decisions to come from this 49er franchise, possibly at the end of this game. Big pressure by Al Singleton. The ball comes out. Garcia's pleading that his arm was going forward, as the 49ers end up with a football anyway, and for the moment, they are ruling that a fumble.
You know, one of the problems when you get in that spread offense, you end up opening up some lanes. They can always, that ball just slipped out of there.
That was close. That was close as to whether or not his hand's going forward. When the ball comes out, he brings it back. I'm not so sure it was.
That's a fumble.
It was a fumble, but it was recovered by Willig. And so the 49ers have it. Now, time is called. And they call that, the rule or the words for that, empty hand. And I think that was clearly a fumble.
Well, and I think what Mariucci's saying is that it wasn't. It was an incomplete pass, and so they would regain the 7 or so yards that they lost.
So interesting that the challenge would come from the 49ers side. Because
San
the Buccaneers
Francisco is
would have
challenging
nothing
the
to
rule on the field of a fumble.
Obviously, Tampa Bay wouldn't because they'd have nothing to gain. That's a fumble. That is not the tuck rule. That's an empty hand. And therefore, no tuck rule applies. I think the call will stand.
Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. The ball was out before Jeff Garcia began with the forward motion of the arm, and that clearly is a fumble. It's a good job by those officials getting it right the first time.
Great work by our camera crew, which the three of us and Pam Oliver down on the field have come to expect. Singleton with the pressure, and all Terrell Owens can do is just take his helmet off and chat with Warren Sapp in what is right now a blowout of 31-6. Tampa Bay on top.
It's going to be a long week this week for Steve Mariucci as well, because the speculation is going to grow and grow and about his job and whether or not he's going to be back. He has 1 year left on his contract, and there is a bit of a split philosophically, I think, within this organization.
After reviewing the play, as the quarterback's bringing his hand up to take his arm forward, the ball comes loose. It is a fumble as ruled on the field. San Francisco is charged a timeout, their first one.
So again, remember, the 49ers fell on the ball, but they challenged the call. They're charged a timeout because of it, and it is 2nd and 17 as opposed to 2nd and 10, and a timeout here wasted over 7 yards probably isn't worth it. And more whistles and conversations and huddles.
Since San Francisco was charged a timeout, the clock will start on the snap.
Been a tough week for officials this week.
And it really continued through last night with all that was made by Bill Cowher and the Steelers on those field goal tries at the end of the game. Game won by Tennessee. That's Garrison Hurst. Gets it up back near the original line of scrimmage, a couple of yards shy. That'll be 3rd and long for the 49ers.
And just to get back to my point and finish it up a little bit, you know, Steve Mariucci is a guy that believes in balance. He wants to run the football as well as throw the football. Within the organization, you have Bill Walsh, and he's the genius, and he has all the Super Bowl trophies, and he's been such an incredible coach, and he's much more of a pass-first kind of a guy. And then you end up with that sort of debate going on. I don't think anybody's disputing that Mariucci is a great coach within the organization, just as his philosophy match.
On 3rd and 12, that's Beasley, and that's a nothing play on 3rd and 12, a gain of 2. It'll be 4th down. On top of that, guys, I think you can sense when you talk to Jeff Garcia, not only is there a difference in philosophy between the front office and the head coach Mariucci, but even the quarterback Garcia and Mariucci and what they try to do. Garcia says we try to be too balanced. He'd rather pass more.
But I also think it goes beyond philosophy. I think there's a decision that these two have got to make as to whether or not they feel that Mariucci is the quarterback that can take them all the way.
Garcia. LaFleur to Carl Williams. A decent return by Williams up to 39. Some of our best are on the scene for today's game. It's playoffs, so Chucky's out.
The Chucky can.
There he is.
He is a closet funny guy. I mean, you said it to some of their players. If you were in meetings with that guy, it'd be tough not to laugh at him.
Players told me they do laugh.
His image is really a guy who's just intense all the time, and he gets to work at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's there all day, and he doesn't get a chance to spend a lot of time with his 3 boys, this, that, and the other. But he is truly a funny guy when you get a chance to sit down with him. He's a dynamic personality, and while everybody said, well, he's come in to really rejuvenate this offense, and it's taken some time, and they did not have a good year offensively, coming in 24th in the NFL rank-wise. He's also given life to this defense, and guys like Warren Sapp bought into what he was selling early, and he has given that group a little extra jolt of energy, or as Warren Sapp says, some extra bounce. A second down carry by Pittman, and a gain of 3.
I think it's interesting when Sapp said the first time he sat down with John Gruden, Gruden looked across at him and gave him that little Chucky face, and Warren said, don't be playing that game with me now. Don't be doing that whole intimidation, that whole thing with me. That's not going to work. You want to talk, let's go ahead and talk. And I think they kind of laughed together and had a great relationship ever since.
Well, I think what speaks volumes for him is that when he was at Oakland, the players, Jerry Rice, Rich Gannon, those guys, they loved John Gruden, hated to see him leave, and he already has endeared himself to this club. Says a lot for the way he's able to motivate players and get them to buy into his system.
Big toss, and Johnson airs it out. Incomplete. Rashad Holman on the coverage of Keyshawn Johnson.
And I think what was significant about that was the fact that Tony Dungy was so loved among these players. I mean, it really was a huge deal when they fired Tony Dungy here. And it didn't matter who the next guy coming in. It was going to be a tough sell. But John Gruden, it just didn't take long at all. And I think that right away people began to think, hey, maybe we can win a championship with this guy. He just brings that extra edge to this football team.
Sutherland gets it on the run. Nice return out across the 40. As we watch the 49er offense try to mount some sort of pride-saving offensive drive. We'll talk more about the Mariucci situation. Starting with it from their own 41, Garcia to Hurst. Picked it off his shoulder pad and dives across the 45, knocked down into 47. I think that weekend in February when Mariucci toyed with the idea of coming to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for really the title of head coach and general manager, as you watch Garrison Hurst on a draw play lose yardage back to the 45. The Glazers met in Beverly Hills with Mariucci. He kind of waffled on the decision, then they went immediately to John Gruden. I think it surprised the San Francisco front office that Gruden wanted to leave so badly. That wasn't the only team that he talked to, but I think it surprised Mariucci that the 49ers were willing to let him walk away.
Well, they wanted the compensation. They wanted that whole package that the Buccaneers were throwing out there.
3rd down and 6. Garcia lets it fly incomplete, and from that moment on, if Mariucci is going to ask for a boatload of money and try to break the bank, common sense would tell you that that's not going to happen.
Well, I think, like Chris mentioned, philosophical differences, and if you're winning, I don't know that philosophical differences matter. I really think it comes down to whether or not Bill Walsh and Terry Donahue believe that Mariucci can take this football team and win a Super Bowl, and if they don't feel that way, then I don't think he'll be back. Is that fair? There's nothing about the coaching profession that's fair.
4th down and 6. Johnson making a catch shy of a first down, it appears, and now a rather generous spot.
Really generous.
Wow. They're giving the spot up very close to first down yardage. Brooks made the tackle, and again, that was a fourth down play. And we'll see if where they set the ball down, and you can see Brooks is unhappy, and I don't blame him watching that play unfold.
You know what? I think he's saying we need to challenge that spot. I think he saw exactly what we saw, that there's no way that that ball should have ended up there. So now what they'll do is they'll let them take the measurement. If it's short, they get the ball back. If not, then they may well challenge it. There's just no way. That's not even close. That's on the other side of the 50.
Doesn't matter. The spot's short. All new Killer Night of Comedy starts at 7 Eastern, 6 Central tonight on Fox. Pittman tries the right side, and as we've been a dominant day for the Tampa Bay team.
Well, if you're going to win championships in this league, you better have some offense and score some points, and they're going to need points next week against Philadelphia.
Second down and 8. Stecker. And really, that can be the only reason why Johnson's in. He hasn't played in 4 weeks. He's trying to maintain this rhythm throughout the game, but there's an awful big risk.
Well, I think he's in, and they've been running the ball, but if they do anything, drop back and pass, I just think it's an absolute mistake having Brad Johnson in the game. He's been banged up, and there's no point in him being out there and even risking anything happening to him at this time in the game.
7 minutes left in this one. 31-6 Tampa Bay. Third down and 7. Quick set and throw, and the pass is incomplete. Just to finish the situation with Mariucci, you have to believe, guys, that the future of Mariucci being uncertain has led to other situations like where's Denny Green going to end up? Maybe he's waiting around in case the 49ers do make a change and realize Mariucci signed through next year and beat Jacksonville, the Jaguars head coaching position. Maybe they're dragging their feet to see if Mariucci is available.
Well, let me tell you something. If Steve Mariucci were to become available, there'd be a lot of teams out there, both college and pro. But the pro side be willing to give up compensation, so that's exactly why the 49ers may have some interest there. I mean, that, to me, that he belongs in San Francisco, but I still put it about 50-50 that he ends up there next year.
That punt will end up in the end zone, and the 49ers will get it at their own 20. So we watch the 49er offense come on the field, and I guess a lot of the question marks around this Tampa Bay offense, at least for the moment, have been put to rest. And Brad Johnson, the guy in the center of it all, bad quarterback rating, second worst among active players in the playoffs, comes in and really, outside of that early interception, has been outstanding.
Played great, and I think that's why he's been as emotional as what he has today. He's wanted to come in and play well, plus the fact that he has said that this is the best team he's entered the playoffs with, and so with that, there are no excuses. He recognizes that, and he wants to make the most of it. He knows ultimately he's going to be judged on championships.
Starting with it from their own 20, Garcia fires, and it's caught by Stokes. And Chris, if we can look ahead, and realizing that we probably could have been guilty of looking ahead last week about midway through the third quarter, and we would have been dead wrong. But if you look ahead and you look at a possible matchup of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going back to Philadelphia, they've lost their last 2 playoff games prior to today in Philly without scoring a touchdown. What do you think of the matchup coming up?
Well, it's personal for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's no question about it. They got embarrassed up there the last couple of years, and they really want a part of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Eagles had great success running the football in that game. Donovan McNabb hit some big passes, and I think for McNabb, the fact that he was able to play in that ball game last night, not get hurt, get a tune-up before he has to face this defense, is just so important.
This is Terrell Owens, penalty flag on the play, as Willig and Simeon Rice are still wrestling with each other after the play. And Jerry Austin, a quick call.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, 96 defense, 15 yards, first down.
So they get Wims away from that little battle between Willig and Rice.
You know, I do know this, that coming into this game, a lot of people were saying this was why John Gruden was brought here. This game was the reason that they brought John Gruden in, and I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think they brought John Gruden in to win a Super Bowl as the reason they bring every head coach in, but this was a great start here today. Winning today here in this game against a good football team, going into the championship game. He's done a heck of a job here in Tampa in his first season.
Yeah, we've talked so much, too, about Steve Mariucci and his job position. But the injury to Ahmed Plummer today, you couldn't have had a worse injury for this football team. Already decimated in the secondary, and then having that injury on top of it.
Garcia hits Beasley as fullback. Ken Beasley lowers his shoulder. Simeon Rice downfield. And it is a first down for the 49ers.
Well, I'll tell you what, this tells you right here how important this game is to this Tampa defense. Watch Brian Kelly, 25, coming in right here on the blitz, and he's out there playing corner, and they're calling corner blitzes, and this is a defense that takes a great deal of pride, and they don't want the 49ers moving the football down the field, even at this point in the game.
5 minutes left in the game. Garcia somehow avoids a sack and throws. The pass is caught by Streets. That's up at the 25-yard line, and the defense for the Buccaneers are saying this ball skipped in.
Well, Houdini did it again. Jeff Garcia able to escape and get the ball down. It looked like maybe it did one hop, but difficult to tell.
Tampa challenged a ruling on the field of a completed pass.
Warren Sapp will let you know what he thinks about it.
Could have A, skipped in there, and B, when Streets cradled it, it looked like it started to roll around.
Well, it just so happens Eric Heitman, the left guard for the Niners, was right in the line. Right there, it looks like you can see the turf come up off the ground. The ball hit the ground.
You could see from that replay that the grass was involved with that catch. So we'll see if Gerald Austin sees enough on that replay to overturn the ruling on the field, but it certainly looked like that was an incomplete pass from up here. And Warren Sapp is still talking. See the turf, the grass takes a little divot out of it as Streets gets his hands around the football.
And if you're a 49er fan, there was no doubt in your mind any close call at all was going to go against the 49ers. They've had everything go wrong for them in the ball game. We gotta let this guy go underneath the hood one time.
I don't know that his head would fit in the head of the hood.
That's okay, because he's really looking out of the mouth. I don't know if you've seen some of those characters, but they're never really, Troy, looking out of the eye.
Are they not?
No.
I've never put one of those on.
I've looked at.
I mean, when were you the mascot?
I was, well, I mean, you guys played in Super Bowls, and I had my thing, okay? I mean, look at it. There's no way that this guy or girl tall enough to look out of the eye.
Well, then let me rephrase that. I'm not sure his chin would fit under the hood, okay?
Okay, that works. Here's another look.
What else you want to talk about?
I don't know. Enhanced TV.
I want to talk about the show next Saturday night. Our pregame show guys are going to put on a 2-hour or a 1-hour entertainment extravaganza. Does that mean that like Jimmy Johnson dances and how he sings? And
absolutely.
What are they going to do?
Me and my shadow.
I've seen
As
Jimmy
the
do a
pass
little
is coming
dance.
into the receiver, just as he grasps it, it touches the ground. That makes it incomplete. 2nd and 10 at the Tampa Bay 40. Tampa will not be charged with a timeout.
I've been at a few Super Bowl parties with Jimmy. I've seen him dancing. Fred Astaire, he is not.
I don't think I even want to think about that.
Who else is going to be there? Ja Rule is going to be there. Ashanti is going to be there. Ced the Entertainer. Cedric will be there.
Now, does that mean that Jimmy Kimmel has to be in the same place in the same time as Howie Long? That could get a little ugly.
By the way, the place is called the Kimmel Center.
I guess he'll be there.
All right, back to work. 40-yard line. second down and 10. Setting up a screen for Hurst. To the 35. That's it. A gain of 5. And that will happen Saturday night. Next Saturday that comes up on your calendar. 9 Eastern and Pacific. Only on Fox. The old Saturday night show.
Terry Bradshaw's been waiting his whole life for his own primetime show. He'll be in rare form, I'm sure.
Everybody talked about the 49ers being able to run the ball today against this undersized, quote-unquote, finesse defense. They have 1 rushing first down today.
Yeah, I wonder how much Kevin Barlow thinks this defense finesse now.
That's a word that seems to come up a lot as it's 4th and 1 during playoff time. One team calling another team finesse, and there's nothing that gets a team more upset than that word.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say a lot worse things than that. Finesse basically means you're soft. I mean, an offensive line doesn't like being called finesse. Defense especially. You don't hear too many people call defensive football teams finesse, particularly when you're talking about the defense that led the league.
4th down and 1. Garcia's going to put it up over the middle. And that's Mr. Finesse. The first down catch inside the 30, a gain of 3. Kevin Barlow. We asked some of the defenders of the Buccaneers about that word and if that was discussed, and Rondé Barber said, yeah, it came up. It came up, and I can guarantee you that has been half of the dialogue, at least, between Warren Sapp and this 49ers offensive crew. Blitz coming on first down. The 49ers pick it up, but Garcia throws behind the tight end. Second down and 10. Get an indication of just how good, how fast, how talented this Buccaneer defense is with what they have been able to do against a 3-time Pro Bowler, Jeff Garcia.
There really is just no way to practice against what you're going to see when you play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We have seen Jeff Garcia all season long just make pass rushers look silly. It's almost like he can sense when they're behind him, when they're in front, when they're coming towards him. And yet today, it has just been a nightmare for Jeff Garcia. And it's not so much the protection, it's just the swarm. They never can get away from this pass rush.
It's been hit 13 times today. On third down, the pass is picked off. That's Barber. Rondé Barber with his brother Tiki watching on the sideline. An exclamation point on the end of this one for the Tampa Bay defense. 80 yards. And now at the end of the play, everybody stops. They've got a personal foul.
Number 96, grabbing and jerking the face mask. 15 yards. First down, Tampa Bay.
They're going to call post-possession. Post-possession. As Tiki's already being interviewed. Post-possession, and it's going to be a 15-yard penalty, but Tampa Bay will get the ball. They called it on Rice.
Yeah, they run the out route with Owens, and Rondé Barber just right there, and throw that was behind him, and yeah. Very fitting they would come to this. Derek Brooks, actually the guy who was out in front, who helped spring Rondé Barber for that touchdown. But like you said, Joe, it's coming back.
It's coming back, but the Buccaneers do get the ball. So after the interception, they called a face mask on Simeon Rice. And there it is. No doubt about that to Willie. Rondé Barber with the interception, and Tiki Barber, the outstanding running back of the Giants, with the memento.
And it was nearly Tiki against Rondé in this ball game, but for the huge comeback by the San Francisco 49ers.
Rondé scores, Tiki gets interviewed.
Great reporting. Rob Johnson, who was in the game for a brief while when Brad Johnson suffered that laceration above his right eye. A handoff, a minimal gain, and a timeout called for. Brad Johnson now will get to stand, watch,
Hey, what's the sign?
heel, and look ahead to a date at the vet against the Eagles. Rob Johnson keeps it, dumps it. Dilger. First down inside San Francisco territory.
Well, John Gruden's still throwing the football.
But don't you think that's a little bit for Rob Johnson, just in case next week he has to get in the ball game? You want to give him a little confidence. You want to make him feel good. You alluded to it earlier, all the sacks this guy takes. It is an issue, and especially when you're talking about playing against the Philadelphia Eagles defense.
A lot to talk about. 2 minutes left. Toss the Stecker, penalty flag on the play. Stecker is still fighting his way. Brought down inches shy of the 45-yard line by Bryant Young.
Illegal motion. Number 32 of the offense going forward at the snap. 5 yards. Repeat first down.
Since I know you guys are tapped out of things to say, today's game is being produced by Richie Zients and directed by Artie Kempner. Technical producer Dave Hill. Technical director Rich Basili, and the audio mixer Fred Aldis. Associate directors are Greg Scopatoni and Derek Manning. Our editorial consultant here in the booth, Steve Horn. The Los Angeles AD, Lisa Kuhn. Broadcast associates are Jacob Ullman and Jeremy Green. Pre-game show produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy. There are more names. First down at 15. Allstott. Mike Allstott's had a big day, and he's still running hard. The associate director, Jennifer Love. The director of studio operations, Jack Simmons. The senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown. And the executive producers of Fox Sports, Ed Gorin and David Hill.
Tell you what, Joe, I'm just not certain why they're just not taking a knee. Why Rob Johnson's just not taking a knee. And yeah, they're handing it off. The clock's going to run down, but I would think you just worry about one of these offensive linemen getting rolled up, and just anything can happen, and it's not something that's necessary.
I guarantee you those guys are already talking about Donovan McNabb and Deuce Staley and the guys that they're going to have to face next week, because that is the team that they wanted.
It was a 20-10 loss at Philadelphia as Pittman loses the football. A fumble, and it is recovered by San Francisco. October 20th, a 20-10 loss by Tampa Bay at Philadelphia. I wasn't there. You guys did that game. You look at the series history between the two franchises. How would you stack up what you see right now from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers compared to what the Eagles saw back in October at the Vet?
Well, first of all, I would say the Buccaneers' offensive line has greatly improved over that game, and that is going to be significant, because anytime you have to face Jim Johnson and the blitzes that they're going to show, this offensive line simply has to be in sync. The running game is a little bit better, and obviously, Troy, the defense is dynamic.
Yeah, and then Brad Johnson, the way that he's played over the last 6-7 ball games, and much better team than what the one the Eagles saw earlier in the year.
Wide open is Cedric Wilson. Makes the catch and is forced out of bounds at the 25.
Of course, the Philadelphia Eagles aren't too bad in that ballpark either. That was a pretty dominating performance, and McNabb came up with some big throws down the field. Deuce Staley able to run the football for big numbers against this Tampa defense. Going back to what we hit on early in the ball game, of course, one of them was late in the game, a big run, but they did run the football against this defense, and if there's a theory anyway of how you can beat them, it's running it right at them.
51 seconds remain as Garcia, everybody moved except there was no snap from
Ball
center.
start. 77 offense. 5 yards. Still first down.
Jeremy Newberry, the center, never let it go, but penalty was called on Willie.
You know, earlier we congratulated Andy Reid and the Philadelphia Eagles and their job of getting to the championship game. We also had to take the time to congratulate Jeff Fisher and those Tennessee Titans. Big win yesterday. Tough ball game, but now they're playing in the championship game once again.
A lot of respect between those two guys. I'm not sure it started the year that way. I'm not sure that John Gruden really believed in Brad Johnson. Not sure anybody in this town did, but he has proven himself to everyone.
Garrison Hurst over the middle. Fights his way to the 17-yard line. Well, the top 2 rated passers in the NFL will go at it later today. in the Jets-Oakland game. And John Gruden certainly has his fingerprints all over the progress and the maturation, even at a late stage in his career, of the MVP of the league, and that's Rich Gannon.
Yeah, in fact, John Gruden called Rich Gannon this week to personally congratulate him, knowing how hard Rich Gannon had worked and to make himself better in the preparation that he puts in each week to be a good football player. And John Gruden has not kept in contact with many other players. In fact, I think that's the first contact that he's made with any of the players there at Oakland. But I think he took a lot of satisfaction in the year that Rich Gannon had this season.
And you know, Rich Gannon wasn't in a much different situation than was Brad Johnson when he started working with him. So when you look at the difference in what John Gruden and Brad Johnson have been able to do, it sort of a parallel path almost with what Rich Gannon was able to do in Oakland.
Two very smart quarterbacks, and with this layoff of 1 week, Brad Johnson, John Gruden put a game plan together that came out firing today against San Francisco. Blitz coming, Garcia fires, and that's Owens with a catch. It'll be 1st and goal, San Francisco with no timeouts remaining.
Yeah, this Tampa Bay defense does not want to give up a touchdown. They shouldn't have even been in this position. Tampa Bay should have just killed the clock when they had the ball. Instead, they're running it, they fumble it, and now they give the ball to the 49ers. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I'll tell you, the thing that has really impressed me about this Tampa Bay defense throughout the course of the season, a little shot to the head for Jeff Garcia there, is the way that they tackle in the open field. How many times this year have we seen Terrell Owens just catch the ball in the middle of the field, make somebody miss, and take off 50 yards down the field? Every time they've had the opportunity, they're getting guys on the ground. They've done it all year.
That was Corey Ivy on that last tackle immediately of Owens. 2nd down and goal. Garcia pulls it back twice, flips, and it is incomplete. Dwight Smith almost had his 2nd pick of the day. 15 seconds remain, and the only drama is, will this Tampa Bay defense keep the 49ers out of the end zone?
I don't think Al Singleton can believe he dropped this ball. Doink. And Dwight Smith's going to have a shot at it, and that's going to go through. And if they score a touchdown here, the entire Tampa Bay defense is going to be mad going into the locker room. Maybe it'll be good for them going to Philadelphia.
It's 3rd and goal. Garcia throws it away. It'll be 4th and goal. Dave Schwabe is our spotter here in the booth. Steve Kleinfeld, our statistician. And we will await what could very well be our final play offensively from the 49ers today. Barry Strumpf on stats down in the truck. Mike Steve Pack working hard for us every week. It's 4th and goal. Back to the end zone. The Buccaneers take over. They took over from the beginning. The clock has expired, and this game belongs to the Bucs.